When the family gathered happily for a full family portrait, behind the photographer sat a young black boy they had just adopted. Without a word to her husband, the mom invited him to join the photo. Mike was stunned, almost unable to believe it. And yet, the next moment, he quietly moved to stand beside them. In that moment, Mike felt something he had never known before, a sense of belonging. For the first time, this towering boy felt what it meant to be part of a family. And from that day on, his fate would begin to shift. Though Mike was only 16, he stood over 6.5 feet tall and weighed more than 300 pounds. One of his feet was bigger than some girls' heads, but his mind was like that of a child. His understanding, his thoughts, they were stuck at age 6. He had been on his own for as long as he could remember. His father had died early. His mother, struggling with mental illness, couldn't take care of him. So Mike grew up bouncing between relatives' homes. He was passed around like a football, never staying anywhere for long. In just a few years, he'd transferred schools 11 times. He'd been placed in 7 or 8 foster homes, but no one ever truly saw him as family. That night, he overheard yet another fight between his foster parents about him. And just like every time before, he knew what that meant. It was time to go. He made his way to the gym and found a quiet corner to hide in. After the games, fans often left behind popcorn and soda. That became Mike's dinner. He helped clean up too, picking up the trash, trying not to be seen. At night, he went to the laundromat and washed his clothes using free tap water. He didn't even have soap. This was how he lived, day by day, alone. And maybe it would have stayed that way if the Toohey family hadn't come along.
It's freezing. What's his name again?
Big Mike.
Mr. Toohey rolled down the window and asked where Mike was going. He said he was headed to the gym, but Mrs. Toohey knew something didn't add up. The gym was closed. It had been for hours. Mike had lied. The truth was, he had nowhere to go. She couldn't just drive off, so she invited him to get in. That night, Mike went home with them. When he stepped into their beautiful house, he could barely take it in. He had never seen a home like that, let alone lived in one. Because everything happened so fast, they hadn't prepared a room for him, so Mike slept on the couch. Mrs. Toohey told him if he needed anything, he could come upstairs. But after saying that, she paused. A flicker of doubt crossed her mind. Could he be dangerous? Would he steal something? But the next morning, her fears disappeared. Mike had folded the blanket neatly. The sofa was spotless. Nothing in the house had been touched. And in that quiet moment, she realized he was a good kid. That day was Thanksgiving. Mike had nowhere else to be, so they invited him to stay for dinner. The food was incredible, piled high, endless choices. Mike didn't know how to react. He quietly took a small serving of rice. Then, when no one was looking, grabbed a piece of bread, too scared to take more. He didn't want to be seen as greedy. The whole family brought their food into the living room to watch TV. Mike, unsure of what to do, sat alone at the dinner table. Seeing this, Mrs. Toohey turned off the TV and gathered everyone back to the table. She wanted Mike to feel like part of the family. They held hands and said a prayer. Mike peeked his eyes open, barely believing it was real. Just the night before, he had been alone in the cold. Now, he was surrounded by warmth. The next day, Mrs. Toohey took him shopping for clothes. Mike said he didn't need anything, he had clothes. But they convinced him. He had never been to a mall before, and clothes that fit him? Those were expensive. So when he looked through the racks, he only chose the cheapest ones. From that point on, Mike slowly began settling into this new life. Young SJ, the Toohey's son, loved having Mike around. He felt safe, and having a giant for a friend got him plenty of attention. The Tooheys gave Mike his own room. They even bought a custom bed that could fit his massive frame. Mike stared at it in disbelief.
Never had one before.
What, a room to yourself?
A bed.
Mrs. Toohey had to walk out of the room to keep from crying. She could only imagine the kind of childhood he'd had. And that night, she made a decision. She was going to adopt Mike, give him a real home. The paperwork went quickly, and just like that, Mike became a part of the Toohey family. With food, safety, and love, Mike finally had the energy to focus. His grades started improving. Though he looked like a mountain, Mike moved with surprising agility. The coach noticed. He offered Mike a spot on the football team. They decided to celebrate. Little by little, even the Toohey kids opened their hearts. But one day at the library, Mike avoided saying hi to the daughter. He had heard the whispers, the gossip. He didn't want to bring her trouble, so he sat in a quiet corner by himself. She hesitated, then walked right over and sat next to him. She didn't say anything, and Mike smiled. Football season was coming, and practice began. Mike's coach saw his size and potential. He was bigger than anyone on the team. But there was a problem. Mike didn't understand the rules, and worse, he was too gentle. He didn't want to hurt anyone. By the end of the first day, he had made no progress. If this went on, his talent would be wasted. So little SJ started training him at home. All summer, they worked together on stamina, on plays, on positioning. SJ taught him everything. With his family behind him, Mike began to improve. Back at school, practice resumed, but Mike still hesitated when it came to contact. He didn't want to knock people down. That was his weakness. Until Mrs. Toohey stepped in. She told him, protect your team like they're your family. Protect the quarterback like he's me. The others? That's SJ. That's your sister. That's Sean. Mike didn't like to fight, but he would protect his family, and that made all the difference. He stopped holding back. He dominated the field. No one could could stop him. Soon, game day arrived. Mike's first real match. Even with all his training, he lacked experience. The team began to fall behind. Each time the other team scored, they taunted Mike. They pushed, mocked, and bullied. It was supposed to be a penalty, but the ref only gave a warning. Coach Tui had enough. He stormed onto the field and shouted, "Mike is part of this team. He's family, and nobody messes with family." Something changed in Mike. He realized it wasn't just the Tuis who cared. His teammates did too. So he went back in. He remembered the tactics he practiced with SJ. He thought about the people who had believed in him. Family had once been his weakness. Now, it was his armor. With everything he had, Mike burst through the line. Like a tidal wave, he knocked down everyone in his path. The crowd went wild. Mike led the team to a huge victory. SJ burned the game footage to DVDs and sent them to coaches across the country. Soon, Mike's name was everywhere. Every major school wanted him. They flew in to see him with their own eyes. Recruitment letters poured in. Calls came non-stop. If his grades stayed strong, Mike had a real shot at going pro. But that was still the biggest hurdle, his grades. So the Tuis hired private tutors. Mike studied every day when he wasn't training, and college scouts kept knocking at the door. His grades kept rising. Eventually, he became eligible for official recruitment. In front of reporters, Mike made his decision. He chose the University of Mississippi. It was the Tui family's alma mater, and Mike looked forward to starting college there. But just when everything seemed perfect, NCAA investigators showed up. They sat down with Mike. They had questions. Why had he chosen Ole Miss, a school with fewer resources, farther from home, instead of top-tier Tennessee, just down the road? Why had the Tuis adopted him, given so much, to a stranger with no home, no past? They suspected the Tuis had only taken Mike in to help their alma mater. Every sign seemed to point that way. Mike couldn't answer. He stormed out, confused and hurt. He didn't want to hear the Tuis' explanation. He felt like everything had been a lie. He left the house, alone. 4 days. They couldn't reach him, until one day, Mike called. He met with Mrs. Tui. They sat on the curb and talked for hours. And in that moment, she revealed a secret. One that could change Mike's life forever. Want to know what happens next? Follow me, I'll be sharing the next chapter soon.